Welcome back, everybody, to the latest episode of the Level Up Podcast, where you learn how to go from agent to entrepreneur. We have a fantastic guest with us today. Unfortunately, Greg is not here, and so we're going to talk about some fun stuff in his absence that I know that he would love to dive into, and I know you're going to get a ton of value out of it because we are talking about lead conversion. We're talking about ISAs, a little bit on online marketing and what's working today to generate leads on Facebook. And we've got an awesome guest with us today, former agent turned agency owner, and now specializes in helping agents generate and convert leads online. So really someone that's knee deep in the trenches and helping agents generate and convert leads and knowing what's working versus what's not working. And so Andrew, officially welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So for those that might not know you, because you're talking about, ex corporate trainer for Remax Integra. There's a ton of people that know who you are, and then there's a bunch of people in our audience that might be completely out of the loop just because they're in like knee deep in the Century 21 world or something like that, that might not know who you are. What do you tell people that you do?
For the most part, well, there's the joke way and the serious way. The joke way is I get drunk on camera because I have a show called Over a Pint where I just interview people over a pint of beer.
Nice.
When I talk seriously, I'm a Facebook ad strategist. So we help people figure out how to grow their business off Facebook, whether it's through direct marketing, referral marketing, however, there's different ways to do it with Facebook, but Facebook ad strategist for real estate agents.
Very cool. And so you've shared just a little bit about your background and kind of how you got to be that, because you didn't come from the Facebook ads or digital marketing world and spot real estate as an opportunity. You came to it organically as an agent, right?
For real estate, I was a concrete forming estimator. So it was a really crappy job. It was all right. I mean, it paid well, but I just looked at blueprints all day. And then that classic story you hear all the time of I bought a house, thought I could do a better job than my agent, told my wife that, and she basically called me on it. So I got my license. I knew nothing at that point about tech at all, but I was trying door knocking, cold calling. I actually got a deal on the second house I ever door knocked. That was
Holy
also
cow.
the last one I ever got door knocking. So at first I was like, this is amazing. It's going to be so easy. And then never again. So I tried it all. But at the same time, I was blogging 3 to 5 times a week, running Facebook ads. But it was actually the Facebook ad part of that door knocking that got me my first listing appointment. I knocked on the door. She said not interested. And then about 3 hours later, because what I did is I ran an ad to the neighborhood at the same time with my face, and I was with Remax, so I had the Remax logo. And she saw that. She's like, "Hey, you were just at my door. I actually am thinking of selling. I just didn't want to talk at the door. Would you actually mind coming back tonight with my husband?" And so I was
No
like,
way.
"Oh, I would love to." So it kind of got me like, okay, this Facebook thing that works. And so I started doing that, and so I kept doing all the online stuff. Took about a year to like really pick up and like really get consistent flow of leads because it was all just self-taught. But then Remax Integra at the time gave me an offer to become a trainer, and I was like, I'm basically going to get to be in real estate university meeting with top producers while training them on tech and then build a referral network. So I kept doing that, thinking I would go back to sales and just have a really good referral network across North America. And then every time I train, people are like, no, we just want to hire you. We don't want to do this ourselves. Let's just pay you to do it. You hear that enough, you realize there's a pretty good business in there. So
Yeah, exactly. And I love that example because it's the same. It's very similar to what happened to me. Like it goes back to that Seth Godin quote: "Don't start a business unless somebody's asking you to."
Yeah, and it works.
I love it.
And it's like,
yeah.
I was able to that first week just call up people and just be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Oh, by the way, I need you to pay me 6 months up front. And they all said yes. So just right away had people coming in and paying and hit the ground running back to everything.
Yeah, and there's a huge opportunity because I mean we're living in an interesting niche of time right now. Facebook, essentially we can go straight to the masses, which we've never really been able to do before without shelling out a couple of grand for radio, multiple thousands for TV, like whatever the case is. Before Facebook has come along, we didn't it just did not exist in terms of our ability to fairly easily generate leads online, very, very targeted, and generate fairly large quantities of them and scale it up and down for just about any size team. And there's a lot that's happening right now. Before we get into kind of the strategy of things, I do want to ask you, just because we're a live show and there's been a lot in the news over the last couple of months about certain things being taken away, targeting options being taken away, and a lot has been in flux over the last couple of months. how has that affected you guys, or the quality of the leads that you've been able to generate? What kind of adjustments have you guys had to make?
None. Now, part
Really?
of that, so in case people know, I'm actually in Canada. We never had any of that anyways. So for our
Oh, the
Canadian
targeting
clients,
options?
yeah, like we could never
Oh,
target
interesting.
by income or any of that. So we like basically came up not having that option. So like we do have a lot of American clients now too. So we do a lot of targeting there. But when we started targeting with American clients, we found the results were never actually any better using those options than what we
Hmm,
did. I think the biggest mistake
interesting.
people use with Facebook ads is they go too deep on targeting. Like anywhere from 80 to 90% of our ads is just age and location. It's so cheap to reach people. Well, age, location, and then excluding agents. So we don't want agents opt in. Like we did one
Hmm.
time because it was a team that was like half wanted to use it as a recruiting tool to show people they were recruiting. And it's pretty consistent. Like we get anywhere from 20 to 30% of opt-ins if we don't exclude agents are just other agents in their marketplace checking how they do it. So we do have to exclude them from seeing it, but it's
Okay.
great. Like it's you don't have to overcomplicate it. Just exclude agents and then do the age. So most of the time, depending on the area,
Hmm.
anywhere from like 27 to 30 and up is normally what we do.
Okay. And then let's talk about like what kind of messaging or what type of ad do you feel like is working well right now for you guys that actually generates good quality leads?
So quality and quantity obviously very different conversation there. From the quantity perspective, we just grab your listing, do a Facebook lead ad. You generate $1 a lead, up to $1 to $5 a lead is the range, but they're really simple. The quality leads though, where you want to do there is provide as much value as you can in that ad. So you almost the idea of like I want to over deliver on what I'm promising. So like we look at what's the most value and what's like the biggest pain point we can solve. When we did like when I ask agents like what's the biggest issue when people come to you, they're all like, oh, they just want to know what their home's worth, which is why everyone runs home eval campaigns. But those are also like crappy leads a lot of the time because a lot of home eval people aren't actually thinking of selling half the leads that come in. They're just curious or they're trying to like fight their tax assessment or something like that, or just want to like see what the home they actually just bought is actually worth.
Yeah.
So when we switch, it's like, okay, when we talk to the consumer and say, all right, what is the biggest issue for you? They never said about what their home's worth. Every single one, or I think it was like 70% of responses came back on the stress for them is getting their home ready for sale. That's what causes them stress. So we
Mm.
created the guide to preparing your home for sale and then variations of that. So like we have the guide to preparing your home for sale. 4 things you can do today to make more money from the sale of your home when you list it. And it's basically just like a series of little things around that idea of here's how you can get your home ready to make more money. Because you're not
Gotcha.
downloading that just because you want to know, like, fight your tax assessment. You're
Hmm.
downloading that because you're thinking of selling. It might be 2 years away that you're thinking of selling, but it's in your head. So the quality of leads coming off that is a lot higher. And then to really up the quality, we leverage the thank you page with, we call it a double dip offer. But I'm just a Seinfeld fan, so I gave it the double dip name. But basically,
That's where it came. Okay, that makes
yeah.
sense. Okay, the
But
double
basically,
dip.
like the biggest mistake people make is they go on the thank you page, say, thanks, it's going to be in your inbox any second. Thanks for opting in. This is now an opportunity for you to keep marketing to them.
Mhm.
So at that point, now we'll offer the home eval. So it's like, hey, you're going to have this guide on how to prepare your home for sale. Do you want to find out what it'd be worth today if you sold? Click below and we'll give you a free home eval. Or we'll say, do you want to, when you sell your home, are you looking to buy another one? Click here to get a list of homes for sale in your price range. But we're offering them something else of value on that thank you page. And then just the pro tip for doing that, if you're going to offer a secondary offer on the thank you page, don't have the email that delivers the lead magnet go to them right away. Because if it goes immediately, they're going to leave and go check that out. So what
Mm.
we'll do is we're like, we think it'll take them 4 minutes to fill out the form, we're gonna say the lead magnet's coming in 6 minutes. So we'll be
Yeah,
like, your lead magnet will be in your inbox in 6 minutes. In the meantime, get your free home eval type of thing. But we always
gotcha.
offer something else, and then when they opt into that, it then goes to either another offer or a client testimonial or like the searching properties on their site. But we basically never end the process. Like we have a
Right.
couple clients who have the ad spend for it and the volume to do it, where I think we're 7 deep on the secondary offers. It just keeps going
Wow.
and going and going and going. And obviously like the volume drops dramatically, and you
Oh
like
yeah,
the
but that's
seventh offer
the
you
lead
might get
quality
one.
goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
the end of
someone
that
makes
funnel is
it,
you get somebody who's really interested. It's the same
yeah.
thing as, people say, well, a sales letter's too long. Yeah, but the person that gets to the bottom buys.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a lay me down. Like when someone gets to the seventh offer, you call them and they're basically asking where do they sign. Like
Yeah.
you're already done. So when you're looking at quality, that's what it is. But it's gonna like you're not getting a huge volume of those. So it's not like you're gonna go and do that method and build a 500 deal a year business just off that seventh page opt-in.
Okay.
But you're gonna do very well.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, there's so much we go into, but I want to talk about ISAs and lead routing. Let's talk about ISAs for a second first. Why do you like that model in terms of like if you do a really phenomenal job of generating good quality leads, whether it's volume or trying to narrow them down a lot, that's something that you make the decision with the client. But so let's say you're sending leads to this team.
Yeah.
And the ideal for you is that they have an ISA who handles those leads. And I'd love to talk about the way that you envision that ISA being managed. What are they doing? What hours are they working? How are they communicating with you guys so that they get like the team gets the best results out of an ISA? What do you see?
So for us, it's we want them to be hours. We're not actually too worried, but I know a lot of people like you got to do speed to lead and do all that. But if you're setting it up in the right way, like speed to lead will help convert at a higher rate, but at the same time, like we can generate leads at 2 a.m. We're not going to have anyone responding to them at 2 a.m. I mean, we're
Okay.
fine. Like, and you can segment your ads not to run during that time, but we let them run all the time because of shift workers, like a nurse who's off her shift at 2 a.m. We're not going to exclude her. So we have it run all the time. They get to it when they can. If they're working during the day, it's like 9 to 9, even 9 to 5, we find with ISAs is fine as long as the
Okay.
rest of your process is done. But what we do slightly changes to team, but we like a text message to go out pretty quickly. So we know
Okay.
we don't do it instant. We normally put a 2 minute delay just so that it doesn't look like it's an automated thing. So it has that little bit of it. And then there's a
Interesting.
guy named Dean Jackson who's a big marketer, and a lot of our follow-ups based on his stuff. Just those open-ended questions to get engagement. Because the biggest mistake agents make, ISAs make, is they go too fast to close. When really your close on this first contact should be they answer you, however that is. So, like one of the questions that Dean gave us, which has worked really well, if someone inquires on a listing, our response is, "Hey, I saw you were looking at 123 Main Street. Are you looking at it for yourself or as an investment property?" A
Okay.
lot of people respond to that because it's a very open-ended, easy, low-pressure question. And then it
Okay.
gives you a lot of information about someone when they're saying that. Like if they say it's for themselves and you know the price point, well, now they probably have a home to sell. If it's an investment, you know they're probably not selling to get it. And
Right.
they also have that money to do it. And like financing might be different. And then you just start having that conversation and respond in kind. So we don't do a lot
Okay.
of automation after the initial response. Our goal is automate until they respond, and then you move it to personal. Because if they respond, be like, "Oh, I'm doing it for myself, and I'm looking for a 3 bedroom home with a pool." If you respond without mentioning homes with pools, it's not that like their response rate is going to drop dramatically. Or if you respond, and be like, "Oh, a house with a pool, that's great, especially after the summer we just had," type of thing. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
respond mentioning what they're saying, so it's a bit of that mirroring of how they talked, and then you keep it going, always with those open-ended questions. That's going to like encourage the response.
Okay. Cool. All right. So for team leaders or anyone that's interested or either has a V or has an ISA or is looking to get one, it's not necessarily that they have to work round the clock. They can roll in
Yeah,
9 to 5, and they would
yeah,
start. Maybe they would start off by following up with the leads that may have came in overnight
yeah,
at the 2 in the morning and follow
yeah.
up with those. And then so like you guys, ideally, you're having something go out automated that keeps in touch with the consumer, kind of warms them
Yeah.
up, asks them open-ended questions, and then how do you see the ISA, like if they were going to really, maximize the results that they get, are they stepping into the conversation at a certain specific point, or are they kind of watching to see what the response is to those automated messages that are going out and then stepping in?
So it's a bit of both. So like that's part of the process of getting them to respond is sometimes people will pick up the phone, not everyone will answer the text. So the ISAs are there making the contacts. What they're doing with the ones who respond, they're prioritizing following up to those people. So it's the
Okay,
priority
gotcha.
for them is those responding to the automation because
Okay,
those are a little bit further along than everyone else. Once they get through those, start calling the rest of them. So you start with
perfect.
the highest priority. Same with like if you have no one responded, you're going to start with the people who opted in on the double dip offer first
Hmm.
before you go to the next one because that leads a little bit hotter because they
Yep.
spent more time and opted in for the rate. So
Yeah.
basically it's a way of prioritizing how you respond to them.
Yeah, yeah, it's basic. It's really it's like lead scoring at a very basic,
Yeah,
practical kind of level. Um,
oversimplified. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. Let's talk about lead routing for a second because you mentioned in the pre-show we were talking about just some of the mistakes and kind of pitfalls that rainmakers and team leaders make when they start dipping their toe into the waters of generating leads online and trying to convert those leads into actual deals. What is lead routing and why is it such a big deal?
So lead routing is basically when you get a lead in, who you send it, so who you route that lead to on your team. The biggest mistake you can do is one, make that a manual process. So the lead comes in, you look at the lead and then decide who to send it because you're just wasting too much time in that process. That's like a very big mistake we've seen that teams make. The other big mistake is sending it to anyone on the team. Like you want a dedicated group of your team who are good at dealing with leads. Maybe with the training and the way you're setting it up, that is everyone on your team. Like there's agent out
Theoretically possible.
east. Yeah, like there's an agent out east in Halifax in Canada named Anthony Brown who he trains his team hard and like they're cold calling machines, lead follow up machines. Like they do group things. He gets on the phone. Like he's the type of guy who he'll speak on a stage about cold calling and pick up a phone and call a lead live on stage. Like he loves
Yeah,
it. He's got his team in a very good spot for that.
yeah.
If you don't have that type of training involved, it's probably not going to go well for you. So you want to kind of have like the lead online lead portion of your team. Like here's the agents who will do this well. Because if they're going to call it once, one time, and then that's it, and then say it's a crap lead after that, they're never going to have success with online leads unless they get lucky.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. So having so if you don't, and this would be in addition to or as a replacement for an ISA, you can have a kind of a ninja group within your team. So let's say you have
Yeah.
10 agents, but you have three of those that raise their hand, self-select, and say, hey, I'm going to get good at following up on leads. And you say, great, here's the system. All the leads are going to go to just you three. And you can round robin, but if you round robin at all, you want it to be within a
Yeah.
very specific small group of people that are trained and committed to do that.
And it depends partially, like in terms of like how far the ISA goes, is what the regulations are in your area. Some areas, the all ISAs have to be fully licensed.
Right.
Other areas they don't, or some they have to be licensed if they go past a certain point. So you kind of have to like ideally the ISA would do everything up until the point the appointment is booked in the home,
Mm-hmm.
ideally, because that's what they're
Mm-hmm.
going to specialize in doing. But a lot of areas and a lot of clients we work with, the ISAs can't actually go that far. So that's the case where it's you get them to that point and then they pass them off. So it's more like they're more like the ISAs become scrubbers, getting them ready.
Yeah.
Like here's the people that will actually pick up if you call type of thing,
Yeah.
and then go from there. One of the great ways to follow up though, there's a great agent named Chuck Charlton. He does 5 emails a week to his database, and like some people are like that's way too much, but he kills it. But all he does is like he comes into the office every morning, I don't think he does video anymore. He used to do it on video, but he would come on and just go through all the listings that came up in the last 24 hours. He's like, here's the 12 listings that came up in the last 24 hours. These 3 are the best deals, and here's why. And then he'd send that email out to his database. And then the next day he'd come back into his office, he'd pull up his MLS back end, do a video. Here's yesterday's 10 properties. Here's the 3 best deals on the list of those ones. And here's why. He's doing that every day for himself anyways. He's just recording it now. And then he sends that out. So it's a really effective way to keep in touch with people. There's no calls to action in it except for the super signature he puts in at the end, and it just goes that route. So daily's a lot for a lot of people. So for most people, if you want to start that, I'd say do it weekly. But the key point of that is the insight. Because
Right.
any agent, and like even when I was selling, like I would go to meet like an agent at an open house, and I'd be like, well, do you want to sign up to get the daily alerts of homes? And they're like, oh, I already got it from 4 different agents. So they're getting the same email 4 different times from the same automated system. It's just the house. What he's done, and what we recommend a lot of people do, is add your insight to it. So give them a step above. Anyone can look at the property info, but if your email's like, here's why this one's a good deal, here's why this one's not a great deal, here's like the type of home that this might be right for, like you start really getting into the details of like why it's worth it, people now are going to be a lot stickier with you and stay long term.
That's interesting. Love it. Okay. That's a lot to think about, but I love the fact that he can hit his database 5 times a week and
That's
not bother people. That's
12,000 strong.
Seriously,
Yeah.
holy cow,
Yeah.
man. Good for
He's
him.
been doing it for a long time now, though.
Yeah. Well, still, I mean, that's it's not a transition you can make overnight, but it goes to show you that as long as the content's right, people don't mind hearing from you often.
Yeah. And what he'll tell you is when he first started it, he had like 30% of his list opt out.
Yeah, of course.
But the ones who stayed, they convert.
Yeah.
So it's 100% he lost a ton of people off his list. But a little trick on that, like if you have an unsubscribed list, upload that to Facebook and run ads to them. Just because they don't want to hear from your in your inbox every day doesn't mean they still don't like you. I mean, I unsubscribed from some of my best friends when their email list just 'cause I'm tired of getting their emails every day. I've heard all their stuff before. So
I'm sure they'd be thrilled to hear it.
Oh, I tell them, like we joke about it, but like the unsubscribe list is an unbelievable ROI from ad spend. So
that's interesting.
If you have a big enough unsubscribe list, upload it to Facebook, run an ad to them, and then lookalike audience the unsubscribe list and run an ad to them too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some serious nuggets. I want to finish with, if you don't mind, talking a little bit about the holy grail of essentially all online marketing, which is what agents really want, which is they want an ad to lead somebody down a process that ends with an actual call appointment or a physical appointment for them to go see this client. So what's been your experience with tinkering around with a system that actually gets people to go through from being a cold lead on a Facebook ad or, maybe send somebody's unsubscribe list, whatever the case is, but take somebody essentially through a process that doesn't involve the agent at all, but ends with them booking a call with the agent?
So there's kind of 2 parts of that. Like one, the best way to do it does involve a little bit of work from the agent, which would be do some type of video, whether that's a video podcast or a community stuff. And if it's community stuff, the agent doesn't have to be in it. They have to pay someone to make it. But do something we can promote on Facebook and just pay for video views. So we get as many people watching that video as possible. I do that on my own show, like where I joke about I get drunk on camera. That's what made me successful. I have this show called Over a Pint, and then we run our ads to anyone who watches the show. Same with an agent, and you can just use like listing videos. Like if you do a video for your listings, blast that out to as many people as you can, and then retarget the people who watch it, who at least watch half of it, with an ad. Then from there we do like the guide to prepare your home for sale. Then the double dip offer is a free strategy call with the agent. So it's like, let's learn how to apply these things specifically to your home. So it's not a call about listing your home for sale. It's a call about helping them figure out what a solution related to the lead magnet they opted in on the front end of the Facebook ad. And then it goes to, we use Calendly. You could also use like Appointment Core, Schedule Once, whatever tool can hook into your calendar. But you want a tool that hooks into your calendar, shows the available times, and then they just click, okay, I want to talk to you Tuesday at 2 p.m. They put in their contact info, and it adds the calendar invite to both of your calendars, and you go from there. It's a really, for my own business, we book sales calls. They're essentially sales calls. We set them up as consults, but for about $6 to $7 a call. Agents that we're testing that with, it's a little bit higher, but it's still working at a pretty good clip. So it does book.
Can you imagine getting calls, self-booked calls? I mean, even if they were $50 a pop, and you take 1 out of 10, it's $500 per. I mean, and I'm just wildly throwing out I don't know numbers, but I mean, even if you had to pay $500 for every listing that you took, right? I mean, if you're a good enough listing, especially if you have the system. Now let's talk about incentives a little bit to get people on the phone. Is there anything that you've seen that works really well within the flow of that kind of series of offers that gets people to
So we one of the ways, like, so obviously there's that first one of you're framing it around helping them with a lead magnet. Then we do another one called the Godfather Offer. I can't take credit for it. There's a guy named Nicholas Kuzmich, one of the top Facebook ad guys in the world. But he's the one who kind of taught me the Godfather Offer process it's more for e-commerce. When he set it up, we've adapted it for real estate. But basically, and the reason it's called the Godfather is you want to make them an offer that they can't refuse to book the call. So for one of our clients, and not every agent will do this, it's 1,500 cash back if you book the call. They'll send cleaners to your home. They'll stage your home, and not just a staging consult. They'll actually like provide the furniture, do the full staging. They'll do like clean your gutters, clean your windows, kind of et cetera. Like basically get your home 100% ready for sale. But you have to book that call in the next 72 hours. And if you do, you get all those things included. So for anyone thinking of moving, they see that, they're like, oh, I want all of that, and all I have to do is book a call. That's a great deal. So those who are on this, like, it's designed to get the people who are moving fast, like the guys in the next 30 to 60 days who are ready to go. They're the ones opting in. So those are the lay me down kind of. They're ready to go right now.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, that's awesome. And I've seen some people touch on that. In other words, offering incentives and things like that. But usually it's very unstructured. It's not put very clearly, and it's not tied to, hey, you have to book an appointment within the next 72 hours to get this incentive. A lot of times they'll build those things and they'll end up building them into their standard service. And so then they have nothing to really make a carrot on the end of the stick to get somebody to take action now, because you threw everything, including the kitchen sink, into your listing package. So I love the idea of like, hey, taking some things that are very attractive, taking them out of your standard package and holding them back as that ace up the sleeve, basically, to get somebody to take action and book a call or book a listing appointment with you now.
Yeah, and like there's like a lot of little like tips and tricks you can do in there too, like advertise that full package at a higher rate to people who have like seen your stuff already. So they know that it actually does usually cost more, or there's more to it. But if they happen to hit this window, which if they hit that window, they'd have already seen that ad because you set it up properly. Oh, look, now you can get it for this much. The original idea was like, this is used a lot by people who sell courses. It's like, hey, this course is $1,000. Oh, I know it's $1,000. Then you get to this thank you page, it's like, hey, for the next 72 hours, it's 500. People are like, oh, yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, it's a legit deal. Yeah, it's legit, and it's legitimate scarcity.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can pair that up with an idea I've always loved, and one of my clients actually runs it. So Mike LaFido, who we should totally have on the show, is a luxury agent out of Chicago, and he's been in Dan Kennedy's inner circle for a long time, Glazer Kennedy Insider Circle, and so he's taken a lot of those same the same principles and applied them to real estate. And so one of the things that he has is, I think actually has an 8% commission package. Right, so that's like the everything in the kitchen sink offer, and it has an actual price tag. It's higher than what you're used to, and of course most people go for the 7% or the 6%, whatever the case is. But he does have it, and it is available, and it is marked up, right? So if he was able to come in, you take a couple of those things from, hey, like we're essentially giving you an 8% package, like a package that is way more than what any other agent will do for you, to the point where it's more expensive, and we're offering that to you for a limited time if you take action and book an appointment. So there's interesting things like that, and I love that you mentioned Dean Jackson is another one. I'm on Dean's email list. I absolutely love his emails. He's got a phenomenal podcast that everybody should check out. I think it's More Cheese, Less Whiskers, which goes back to
his main one. He's actually like the host of like 3 different podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. And I love marketing that he does with Joe Polish is amazing. So I'm a huge fan of Dean's. I need to reach out and actually get him on these shows. Listing Agent Lifestyle. Okay. Yeah, that one I haven't listened to yet. So, but yeah, he's got some amazing stuff, and always has. He's always had some amazing stuff for real estate, and bringing those kind of digital marketing and direct response principles into the real estate world, which is similar to what Craig Proctor did when he got a hold of Dan Kennedy stuff. So it's a very interesting world. I love those couple of guys. So Dean Jackson is definitely one to check out to kind of catch up on some of the, I don't know, I would say the principles or the frameworks behind what you guys are doing.
Yeah, Dean Jackson is the conversion guy for me. Like when I'm looking at how can I increase conversions, he's the one I want to learn from. So like between him and Nicholas Kuzmich on the front end with Facebook ads, that's where like a lot of what we do is based on frameworks they've adapted for other industries. Well, Dean, it's
Hmm.
adapted for real estate specifically.
Yeah.
But it's like this stuff that's been great. And I actually learned ton from Craig Proctor because I grew up in Craig Proctor's service area.
Yeah, you did.
So when I grew up, I actually thought the Craig Proctor model was just all agents did. I didn't realize growing up there was another way to do it. I thought the like your
Yeah.
home doesn't sell, I'll buy it is just I'm like, oh, that's that rich agent who always does that. Like in my
Yeah.
head,
Yeah.
like growing up, that was just agents. And then when he like disappeared from the market, it was so weird because he was everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy,
Yeah.
right? Oh man, so I could talk about the history of that stuff for a while, but let's
Yeah.
let's wrap it up because I want to honor your time and the audience's time. So, what's the best
Sounds
way to
good.
reach out and connect and learn about what you guys do and potentially work with you?
So if you want to work with us or learn about more us, we have our website called justsellhomes.com. So that's our company, Just Sell Homes. So that is you can just sell homes. We'll handle the online for you. And then the other one, if you want to connect and interact, we have a Facebook group called The Wheelhouse. Wheelhouse is 2 words. You can come in there, ask questions, put all like even screenshot your ads. We'll critique them and tell you whether they're good or why they're bad and what you can do to improve. We have people sharing videos they do and asking for feedback, but it's a really good community of people looking to kind of up their game to the next level.
Very, very cool. Awesome, man. And then for the podcast itself, you can go to leveluppodcast.com. You can look it up on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, all the usual suspects. Make sure to leave a rating and a review. And if you enjoyed a particular episode, like Andrew's episode today, make sure to give him a public shout out in the review to thank him for his time and contribution and all that good stuff. And I know Greg would have loved to get in on the conversation because we talk about we talk a little bit about speed to lead, but what Greg is talking about a lot lately is the race to relevance. And that's what we touched on a little bit today with really getting into what is the stress and what is the pain that you're actually solving. The race is to deliver relevant information and insight. Like you mentioned, insight was really, really good. That in itself was a very valuable insight because that's really how we're going to kind of separate ourselves over these next, let's say 5 or 10 years. And so for anyone that's looking to reach out to Greg, I know that he usually gives this out, that you can reach out to him on Facebook Messenger. Super easy to find Greg. It's just Greg Harrelson on Facebook. And then if you're in the Century 21 community on Facebook Workplace, you can reach out to him as well that way. And you'll probably see the podcast all over the internal workplace community. So we just wanted to publicly thank you guys for watching and listening and participating. So Andrew, with that being said, man, thank you so much for appearing. We appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody else, we will see you on the next episode.